Let us know in Discord or chat. Okay, I got a thumbs up. All right, so Blaze, you want to try it again without spilling all the big secrets?
Be interesting to see that play out. I'm going to be picking up a nice little stack. I'm still debating if it's going to be legendary packs or alchemy packs, but yeah, it's going to get exciting here soon. But first, we have to get escalation out and about. But that's going to be another interesting thing. We're at 167,000 packs sold. But I think we're going to make it about halfway there because I know I'm buying some more packs. I know some other players are going to load up. But yeah, that's going to be really fun. And I'm kind of liking that it doesn't sell out. That means that there's going to be less Porsches in circulation. And many people coming on board in the near future are going to want a copy. So get yours while you can. Over to survival mode. It's live. It's in action. It's been a lot of fun. I've played around a couple of times already, and I'm already climbing the leaderboard of bracket 11. And I see that there's a good balance. I mean, obviously it's early, but we have, I think, over 1,100 players playing, 337 under the active, and then 783 players under the automated. So yeah, it's fun to see that play out. Looking forward to fine tune and get dialed in. But if you like brackets, now's the time to get in and pick your bracket. And if you like playing that gold level, here's your opportunity. So tell your friends, any of the OGs that left because of that, or not coming around as often, call them over and show them what we have going on. Let's see what else is happening. There's a lot of upcoming stuff that Harry already shared. But we have Cloveria happening. Vuctus got lucky on the first one. I think that was around $1,000 worth of tickets burned. So really fun to see. There's 9 more left. The next one ends in about, I think, an hour and a half or so. So head on over there and check it out. 1.2 million vouchers have been burned. Great card, Cloveria. I don't think a lot of people have seen her on the battlefield yet, but she is very powerful. So especially in the equalizer rule sets and playing with EMP. So yeah, I wouldn't want to skip that card. Yeah, in regards to upcoming things to help us with our retention numbers and such, I think the spin the wheel is going to be really fun. We're going to have sparks for the frontier mode. We're already in the talks in regards to middle ground. I've talked to a community member that had a great idea. It was on the back of my mind, but see what we can do to bring it to life to get those players. There's over 300 players playing at the top of frontier, and they're kind of looking for some excitement. So maybe there's something we can do to build that up a little more and maybe dip their toes with CA cards, or maybe we can get some special cards in for them. Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, just a lot happening. Things start unfolding next week on Tuesday. Get prepared. And yeah, a lot of action happening.
Cool. Thanks, Blaze. I think even once we came back from our little break, people couldn't hear you for the first minute or two, but then it kicked in and worked.
All right.
So, you guys did some good stuff, but
yeah, I think he should have to repeat everything again.
Yeah, start from the beginning.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I will write up a summary.
Cool.
Speaking of which, we need to start recording these. Like I've been asked a couple times, like if we can figure out how to record this. So I just want to bring that up while I was just thinking about it.
They're always recorded.
Yeah, on YouTube and stuff, you should be able to watch them, right? So there you go. Problem solved.
Yeah, I think you're talking about transcripts, Dave, which used to be a volunteer thing that is no longer being done. Anyways,
I'm pretty sure there are these new really smart computers that could probably do that stuff for us. But yeah, there you go. If you do want to catch this and you missed something, I don't know if what Blaze was saying will be caught because it seems like that wasn't. We could hear it, but I guess no one else could. But yeah, check it out on YouTube after the fact. Before I jump to Nate with the creative update, I just want to see, Dave, do you have anything you want to add or comment on? You don't have like an official section here yet, so but if we want to have the Dave corner, we can do that. But otherwise, I just try to make sure if you have any comments or things you wanted to get in there, now's the time.
Thanks, Matt. I'm going to do the Q&A. That's going to happen, so I can answer questions there. And I don't mind just hopping in if there's something that needs to be said. But you know, Gator, Blaze, and Nate are much more proficient on what they're doing than me, so I'm happy to listen to them.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, and as Dave mentioned, we're going to do it a little differently today. Dave is going to lead the Q&A section. When we get to that at the end of the town hall, I will still be here, be available to answer any questions that come in, you know, for me or related to me or whatever. But we're just going to transition to Dave to kind of to lead that section. At this point, I also feel like he's, you know, more directly involved in all the day-to-day things, and you know, so I feel like him taking the first crack on questions or who they should go to or whatever is a better way to handle this. So if you have anything you'd like to hear from Dave or the rest of the team, you know, as you know, the Q&A section is coming up in just a little bit. But then without further ado, Nate, what's the creative update for today?
Case you want to, there'll be a little button. Now the button is just if you want to like check what your status is after you've, but when you log in, you're gonna see something that looks more like this, which is basically, hey, yay, yesterday was day 28, and then today is, and then it has a little animation, cool sound effect, turns over to day 29, and you're like, yay. What does that mean? Well, that means that you get to spin the wheel. Dave was very excited about the idea of spinning the wheel, and I could understand that enthusiasm. Most people, when confronted, whether at a carnival or whether at as a your favorite concert, and you see a little stand where they're giving stuff away or what have you, everyone likes to spin the wheel. So there we're kind of theming it based on, if you guys remember, Lux Vega, the only neutral Archon card in the game. That you walk through her stagecoach and you end up in this wonderland of, you know, fun and excitement and thrills. And one of the thrills is going to be spinning that wheel, and hopefully you get to partake of Lux's favor. What happens when you spin that wheel? What are the prizes? Well, you might get something new that we're calling Spark. So you'll see that might be an option. One of the more you might end up with a cosmetic, whether it's avatar or skin related. But what's really special, or what's interesting, one of the more rare spins you might get is a what Crave's calling a pit challenge. Originally, it was known as internally it was called Overlord Fight. But I don't know. We're playing with the verbiage. Keep in mind, all of this is is TBD and might change and by the time it gets launched, but you'll see, hey, you know, you want to fight an easy, medium, or hard challenger in the pit, in Lux Vegas pit of whatever we call it. And so you get an opportunity to participate in kind of a scripted, cool mini boss fight, essentially. In fact, this is what's going to pave the way. You know, for those of you who haven't heard, we're working on finally, years later, creating the boss fight within the game. And this has kind of proven our training grounds, paving the way to that, to make the boss fights as cool as they can be. And even though we are working on boss fight stuff, I'll save that for a future town hall as we get closer and closer. What else do we got here? I also have, well, this is fun. So, as mentioned, we're working on Brave Tofu's Vin and Mag's set of skins. There's a basic set and a premium set. Currently, right now, the thought process, and again, this is all coming from the creative mind of Brave Tofu, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with his streams. They're very entertaining, they're very funny and very cool. So if you haven't checked those out, we encourage you to do so. But by partnering with Brave Tofu, we said, all right, let's give you a little bit of creative control over what you'd like to do. And he had an interesting idea. He was like, well, I want to show the existing characters in the game, but at different stages of their life. Like, what were they like way at the beginning when they were younger? Or what would they look like powered up in super, you know, God mode or beast mode or what have you. And so just to give you an example, let me find, like, you guys are familiar with this card. This is a life card. It's the Caravan Guard. So Brave said, well, what would this guard have looked like before they were corrupted by the Conclave Arcana, when they, you know, were out to be a guard doing good, you know? So so we have a skin to represent that, and then we have a skin that shows what happens when you stick around the Conclave Arcana too long and you're corrupted. And so that's kind of an example. Or another example might be, you got, everyone likes, let's see, Gisarilla of the Rhyme. So everyone's familiar with her. Powered up, what would she look like? And so suddenly she turns like into an evil Elsa from Frozen or something. What else we got? Oh, and of course, you know, you got to do Commander Slade. So as you're already familiar with what he looks like here, but what does he look like in his powered up super mode? So so that looks pretty freaking cool. That looks pretty dark and nasty and scary and intimidating. And then Blaze pointed out, hey, let's give some love to the OG characters. So of course, I think Brave made a good choice. He said, let's give the same treatment to Dr. Blight. So, you know, as you guys, if you guys forgot what Dr. Blight looks like, there's Dr. Blight. So let's go back in time and say, well, what did he look like before he got corrupted? And so we got an example of that, and we also have an example of what does Dr. Blight look powered up in all his toxic, juicy glory. And so you have an opportunity to see him that way as well. So that gives you kind of an idea of what you kind of expect. Once we finally are able to distribute those, hopefully you participated in the Winterfest presents and gifts and bought some boxes, or you were gifted one of those. And if you were, or you did, then hopefully floating around in your inventory, you have either a VIN or a MAGS token, or maybe both, in which case you do qualify to participate in these really cool exclusive skin drops. So I'm excited. I participated. I got my VIN and MAG token, so I can't wait to see these live in the game. I think they'll be pretty cool. What else can we talk about? And then finally, last but not least, I think that you guys are all familiar, aware, if you've looked up previous town halls, that Matt and Dave and folks have talked about, hey, let's refocus on land. Let's make 2026. Let's make land great again, and let's go ahead and do what we can to start rolling out new updates and stuff. So just you know, And another exciting tidbit is the opportunity to craft a couple of cards. And I'm not going to give away the stats. I'll let Blaze handle that in a blog and announcement. But we could at least look at the artwork. And keep in mind, these are not land production cards. These are land arena cards. Like if you're a landowner, you're going to be able to craft actual card that gamers are going to play with in the arena. Like I'm talking about ranked play. So that's pretty exciting. That's pretty that's a new twist. So let's start off with how about a fire? This guy is pretty cool. This is a Thesok hunter. As you can tell, he's a lizardkin. And then we also have an earth card. This guy is a ghostly blacksmith. And you're going to be able to craft both of these characters utilizing land. So that's going to be pretty freaking cool. And of course, Dave being Dave insisted, hey, don't roll out these cards unless you have skins to go with them. So you can expect some pretty freaking cool skins. So can't wait to kind of see those live in the game as well. I think that's probably enough. That's probably enough for creative. So I'll pass it back.
Yeah, thank you, Nate. I'm only like half listening and then like absorbing all the stuff you're putting in there, because as I've said before, a lot of this stuff is the first time I'm seeing a lot of these visuals, and they're awesome. So yeah, we have, I feel like I've talked about most of these stuff on previous town halls, but I just want to, recap in case anyone missed it or forgot. I'll save, like, I'll talk about escalation and conclave arcana at the end, because those are like the big things going on right now. Survival mode is back. The kind of big project that is in process currently is the single player campaigns and the boss monster fights. So after coming on, over 7 years, boss monsters are happening. They're coming soon. That's probably going to be the next major like game mode type update. And so stay tuned. I think they're going to be pretty cool. And it's like just going to add another, another kind of thing we can do in the game. So we recently, with the exemplar cards, we added the ability to have cards with customizable stats, right? And the boss fights is going to be the first time where you can really utilize those exemplar cards. I know we have like tournaments and challenges here and there, but the boss monster fights, you're going to need to level up your exemplar in order to progress, reasonably far in that new mode. So not only do we have the exemplar type cards where we have the ability now to have custom designed, and player designed stats on cards, but with the boss monster fights, we're going to really expand what we can do with the monsters or the units that you're fighting. Right. So these are not going to be your standard, balanced units. They're going to have all kinds of crazy stats. They might have new abilities and skills. We're really going to be able to push the boundaries, and then they might change and improve and get better as we go through the campaign. So these are just all new tools we have in our tool belt, so to speak, as we build out new features and things. And then we're going to utilize those tools, hopefully, to make more fun and interesting game modes, incorporate them into guild updates, land updates, all that stuff. So even, our goal is always to get things out and iterate. So we're going to do that, the same way with the boss monster fights. So the first one, maybe more basic than what we are able to achieve or what we've envisioned, but we want to get it out there. We want to get feedback. We want to let people really utilize their exemplars. And then, hopefully that goes well. And then we're going to say like, all right, well, now for the next boss monster, what new, mechanics can we add? What new things can we add? How can we, improve upon that, etc. But I think those are two big new tools we generally have in building out a fun and interesting and very diverse game with different game modes. The player's ability to design and create stats on their own cards, and to really just like push the envelope on what we can do with customized battles. And to start, they're going to be single player, but we had suggestions from the community to allow like group boss fights and things like that. So again, probably not the first one, But that's something we definitely want to get to in the future, and guild-based boss fights and things like that, and campaigns. Um, the guild overhaul is still, in the planning, designing phase. Right now the development work is focusing on the boss monster fights, but after that, probably the guild overhaul is going to be the next thing. And as I mentioned a bunch of times, we're going to try to work all the other parts of the game into that. Um, Land is being developed by Cryptomancer in parallel. He is hard at work on the buildings thing. I don't have much more to say about that at this point, other than, he's working on it. It's a big project, but I really am looking forward to that expanding, just like the gameplay of Land. A lot more resources, a lot more things you can do, a lot more viability for the common plots. Um, because the buildings won't be able to take advantage of the bonuses from the higher rarity plots and all that stuff. We plan to expand the amount of workers you can use on the buildings to try to get more cards to be used. So for people who are worried about, oh, there's too much production power available with the cards, or as we add new cards, there's more production power coming online. All these different things. Our goal with this is to change it so that there's not even close to enough production power to encourage people who want to participate in this to go out and get cards. On that note, I do want to mention, in the not too distant future, the Battle for Praetoria set will come out, and that will kick Rebellion out of Modern. I know there's been a bunch of discussion within the community. Dave and I have been talking about kind of the plans for the Rebellion cards as it relates to production on Land. So I just wanted to clarify the overall plan from the beginning was for cards in Modern to have the 50% penalty on Land. So right now, Rebellion and Conclave Arcana cards get half the production power of the older cards like Chaos Legion um, on Land. The plan from the get go with this was that as cards rotate out of Modern, they would then get bumped up to the normal like 1x production power. So the current plan that we are moving forward with at this time is that when Rebellion rotates out of Modern, then it'll lose that production power penalty and will be equal to Chaos Legion. So obviously, all these things are open to proposals and changes through the DAO and the voting system. But I just want to be clear, like that's the plan and that was the idea around it, which I still think makes sense. The cards get a penalty when they're in Modern. They have extra value in Modern because they can be used in Modern. And then when they come out, the whole idea of Land was to give more value to the older cards. So it's like, oh, the cards are kicking out of Modern, so that stinks. But on the flip side, they now, don't get any penalty to be used on Land. So I still think, in my mind, at least at this point, that makes sense, and that's the path that we're going down, unless the community votes to change it or do otherwise. So anyone else who wants to jump in. But since no one's commented, I'll keep going.
Well, I will. I'll say, Matt, that's pretty cool, and I'm going to be very conflicted on what to do when you rotate out, because with the option to burn SBS for glint, with your idea with the exemplars, I'm like a glint fiend now. Like I can't get enough glint because I want to see my exemplar look cooler and cooler. So it's harder now for me to decide, oh, what do I do? Do I put the cards on Land, or do I, I could do better in Wild, and I could get more glint there. So that's the conundrum that I find myself in. I wonder how many people feel the same way, but yeah.
Yeah, well, and to me, that's part of the game of, I don't know, the meta game, I guess you could say. So I've always said that this Splinterlands is a lot more than just battling with the cards. So it's all this stuff. Players are going to choose different paths, different things that they like to do. So this is again another choice. And yeah, I think we added the exemplars, but like I said, they haven't been really that usable outside of a few tournaments. So I know there's been a lot of people that just haven't really bothered to level them up yet, or to pay that much attention to it. I mean, I've leveled mine up a lot, but I haven't really put a lot of thought into the stats yet. But the goal of the boss monsters campaigns is going to be to change that, where you very much, you need to level up your exemplars and continue to level them up, and then be very conscious about how you set up those stats, and then hopefully people, boy, I forget what the name of the item is now, but the consumable that you use to change up your stats, the goal is that people are going to want and use a lot of those, because they're going to want to keep adjusting their stats, not only to adjust to like increasing levels of the boss monster fight, but then like the next boss monster, and then as we get into the new guild brawls, which will include exemplars, like people are going to be customizing and changing their exemplar on a regular basis, and then you'll need glint to do that, so you'll have to decide if that's the route you want to go, or you want to do something different.
Matt, can you talk a little bit, like one of the mechanics I think we're doing is really good, which is, people are going to place orders, and then, the owners of the plots, that build a factory will then take orders. Can you kind of just explain that a little bit?
How the buildings are planned to work. Yeah, so the buildings are going to be different than the work sites. So we're still going to have the work sites. They're still going to work the same way. So if you have work sites and you want to continue with work sites, you don't really have to do anything or change anything there. The buildings are going to be a little different, and I envision them being like factories. So you build a building, you build a factory, and it doesn't just like all of a sudden just start doing stuff or start producing stuff. It's basically like Dave said, you kind of like place an order with the factory. And then and so it's like, okay, I want to make, a bunch of wood planks, or iron bars, or whatever it is, in my building. So it's like, okay, well, in order to make 1,000 iron bars, you need these input resources. So you provide those input resources. There's a length of time that it's going to take based on the production power and other boosts, and then it produces the end result after that time. But then it's not just, if you own a building, obviously you can put in your own orders to make your things, but you'll also be able to open your building up for other people to put in orders. So if someone doesn't have a foundry or whatever it is, and they want to create iron bars, they can just go on the market essentially for it, see what buildings are available, see what fees there are, etc. Pick the one that is the best for their case, put it in order, and get their stuff created. So this is essentially how we'll have like renting of the buildings, because renting plots has a lot of complications. If you rent a plot, are you responsible for building the building and putting in all the resources? And then if the rental ends, did you just build up someone else's plot? All sorts of other things come in. But this way, you own the plot, it's your building, you control it, and then you can open it up and set a fee or whatever, for other people to use it to produce whatever the building can produce. So again, it's like modeled after kind of a real world analog. If you want to make things, typically you don't have a factory, so you place an order with some company that does that, and they obviously take a fee for doing that. So that's kind of the whole overarching thing of how the building system is going to work. And then I hope that really makes a pretty vibrant and active marketplace, considering the large number of different resources that are going to be needed, and hopefully the value of the end products, which, as we talked about earlier, are going to be cards in the game and other consumables that people need in the game. So we're hoping that players, most players may not be able to necessarily create the end product, but they'll be part of the whole workflow there. So you can focus on, just either producing a resource using your work sites, and then selling that to people who are using that to refine the resources, and then they're selling those refined resources to people who have the buildings that make the final products. But either way, hopefully everyone's kind of like has their niche in this whole ecosystem, and then is able to benefit and earn more through that whole process.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to point out about that is the way it's being built is buildings have slightly different rules. for how to do it. Anybody can pretty much, like, if today was your first day and you said, "Oh, I heard about this game called Splinterlands," you could go buy a common plot, just a regular simple common plot. You could set up shop. You could make a, let's say, a potion factory where you want to make black foil potions. Um, you can get cards, like all the cards, you can have up to 50 cards if you level up your building high enough. So the average production power per card would be 2,000. Same 50,000 deck, and you're in business. You're competing with anybody else, making potions, and set up your shop.
Yeah, and that's really important because again, the work sites are going to remain the same. So our players, our big land players, you all know who they are, who have the alpha cards and the gold foil legendaries and all that, who have the legendary plots. They're still going to have the advantage in that domain, right? They're going to still be getting the majority of the natural resources, which is the very beginning of this big funnel. But this way, for the next levels of the process, I think it'll be much more egalitarian. It'll be much easier and available for other players to participate in those parts of the process, which I think is a really good balance there. Like the players who've been around for a long time and have gotten all those resources, they will still have their sort of monopoly on those parts of the process. But there's still ways that anyone, even with just one common plot, can hopefully be able to participate meaningfully in this whole economy. So yeah, so that's land is progressing. And it's like everyone, I wish this was all out, yesterday or even before that. But it's a big project. Cryptomancer is working on it. He's very, very thorough and does things well, which we definitely appreciate. But it's going to take some time, so we'll keep giving you guys updates as we get closer, and we'll keep trying to do like smaller things in the meantime, like we mentioned. Putting out some new land cards that will be able to be used in ranked battles and all that stuff, just to so you don't just have to sit and wait with nothing in between. And now I feel like we have the ability to roll that stuff out a lot more quickly and easily while we're working on the bigger features. Um, and yeah, I think I talked about most of the things. Obviously, we are hard at work on the next major set, which is the Battle for Praetoria. I think that's definitely going to include some interesting new game mechanics that Call Me Tim's been banging out and working on, and going through ideation and testing and all that. That's still a little while out, so not much more to say at this point. But that is going to be the next major set, so stay tuned for that. And then before we go to the Q&A section, I did just want to talk about not only escalation but also Conclave Arcana selling out. So I was, just before the town hall, taking a look at some of the numbers, and there are just very few Conclave Arcana packs out there. Even including the ones in the DAO, which were reduced significantly based on that proposal. There's like 25,000 unopened standard packs, less than 10,000 alchemy, less than 4,000 legendary. And then as the packs sell out, that'll be it. And there's a lot of prizes left. I mean, the vast majority of the arcane cards and the Archmage Abanias cards are still available. So, we're less than, what is it, we're like 3 weeks out, less than 3 weeks out from those all being sold out. And at that point, once you go and open packs, unless somehow a ridiculous amount sell, which I think is unlikely, although I expect, a good amount to sell at the end, you're going to have a real high chance of getting those cards compared to, how it's been since the launch. And again, it depends on how many sell and how many people open them, but the chances are just going up and up and up. So I myself am definitely have some DEC available. Probably going to pick up a bunch of alchemy packs, maybe some legendary. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm going to get, but so it's going to be. I don't really know how it's going to go. But I remember all the excitement from when the set first launched and people were opening packs like crazy, and those things were popping up to the point where people were like, "This is so annoying. Those things are just like really annoying and make them go away." And we are like, "It's just the first couple days. They'll die down," and they certainly have. And now I'm pretty excited when I see one of those. So I'm looking forward to the set selling out, and players starting to open those packs, uh, and seeing the high numbers of those things come rolling in, seeing people posting online and social media about the great pulls they got. I hope I will be among that group posting about the great pulls. But I mean, this is something that has not happened yet in the history of Splinterlands. Obviously haven't had these jackpot cards in packs, so I think this is going to be pretty different than all the other sets that have sold out in the past. I mean, when other sets have sold out, obviously we've seen a bump at the end as people want to get them before they're gone. But it was just mostly because they just hoped the price went up and wanted to see if they could resell them or whatever it is. But now there's real incentive to open those packs. And there's a real big bonus for doing that. So,
100%.
again, I just want to throw out it's a brand new thing. We've never had it before. I don't know how exactly it's going to go, but I'm very excited to see in the next few weeks.
And also, we have survival mode to go along with it. So you can get duplicates, but you're not going to sell them if you're playing survival mode.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it'll be super cool. And one of the things I want to mention also is for things like our guild overhaul and maybe some future boss battles, we are definitely taking into account things like arcane cards, and how we can have bonuses and benefits for that type of stuff. So I was thinking things like and black foils, so like black foil only brawls, with the new brawls upgrade. Black foil phrase, I guess I mean. And then special bonuses in maybe boss fights or in the guild brawls for using arcane, both gold and black arcane cards. So even though those are mostly cosmetic at this point, and are really cool cosmetically, um, we have I talked about a lot of new mechanics that we're working on, where we can really make those pretty powerful in the game. So kind of your last chance over the next few weeks, if you want to have a crack at those cards. And I feel like if you buy any reasonable amount of packs, you're probably going to have a real good shot at getting some of those, considering the extremely low numbers that are available. And overall, I mean, because of the way we structured it with the alchemy packs and the legendary packs, the total number of Conclave Arcana packs that have been bought and opened is significantly less than any other past major set. Just because a lot of people were buying the packs that cost a lot more, but they're still only getting 5 cards. So, at some point in the not too distant future, Rebellion is going to go out of Modern, and there's just going to be not that many cards available, especially compared to past sets and past Modern tiers. And I guess the same thing in a way applies to Escalation. There's not that many packs of that available. That sale goes, I think, through sometime in August. So there's definitely time to get those. But they're going to be pretty limited. So hopefully we see a big uptick in the demand for those, as Rebellion goes out of Modern, and then as we kind of see the real scarcity around Conclave Arcana, and hopefully the coolness of the Battle for Praetoria set. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Make sure I know everyone's kind of generally aware of those things, but I wanted to hone in on that. Didn't really understand how kind of cool and important this end of cycle will be for the CA set.
Yeah, Matt, I wanted to say something about the pack equivalents. Just so everybody understands, when you see the widget that's in game, what a pack equivalent is it breaks everything down to what is a standard pack. So a standard pack is obviously 1 pack, but an alchemy pack is worth 3 standard packs in the system, and a legendary pack is worth 6. So, for instance, if you want to know your odds, you just need to know what are the total available, packs in the pool, and how many do you want to own, right? And so I'll give this example. Let's say there's 4,000 prizes that are possible, and there's 100,000 packs equivalent right out there. That means if you had, however many you have 4 chances out of 100 or 4% chance of getting one of those cards. So that's the calculation. So you can do it by having alchemy packs where you get 3 pack equivalents. You do it legendary where you get 6 pack equivalents, or you can just buy the standard where you get 1 pack equivalent. And those numbers are going to move drastically. Like Matt said at the very end, it's like we don't know how many are left, but we're going to find out. And so by March 10th and 11th, you're going to know exactly how many prizes are in there and exactly how many packs contain those prizes. And then the odds are going to be simple.
Yeah, and it'll be very clearly presented right on the screen there, which I think is great. And again, that's another, tool that we can use. We'll now have a sort of like in-game banner notification system for any things that we feel is important to highlight for everybody. So I think that's a good useful tool. All right. So at this point, I think we can jump into the Q&A section, which is, good timing. It's been about an hour. As I mentioned earlier, Dave's going to go ahead and lead the section. So feel free to post your questions, prefaced with the word question in bold and caps. And then if you missed this call or you're watching the recording and you want to ask any other questions, please put them in the town hall chat in Discord, and the team will try to get to them as soon as we can.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and start. Then we have 2 before today from Intrepid Surfer. Question: with land buildings on the way, has the team considered using SPS to build out and upgrade buildings? The cost of doing so would be dynamic in regard to SPS USD. Work sites and adding workers could still use deck, but the rest needing SPS with resources, all of which could be burned, would be a powerful thing. Matt, do you want to comment on that?
I mean, I'm open to using SPS for things on land. I mean, I guess in general, the whole idea of the deck SPS split is that so we can, we don't have to worry about, we can have a more stable token for these things, so we don't have to ideally the SPS price could appreciate significantly, and then we don't want it to be a situation where now everyone except for a few people are priced out of doing things. But that being said, we have to also go with what the community and the market wants. So things we intended initially don't always work out. So I don't know. I'm very open to the idea of using SPS in some way to encourage additional ownership and utility for it.
Okay. The second question, and I'll ask you your answer, and then I'll comment on it after that. But the question again from Intrepid Surfer: when planning for the next main set, could the team consider making the main focus of revenue in US dollars and USD stables? That could be also used, but those who pay with USD would have exclusive access to promo cards or other perks you can come up with. And then he has a comment after that: the debt overhang issue is growing louder and louder in SPL social circles. So what are your thoughts there?
Oh, I mean, what do you think about that, Dave?
I mean, I would love to sell everything in, USD and, but if we're going to give a discount, which is what we do when people buy deck, I mean, that's the purpose of it. I mean, if the community wants that, of course we could do that. I tend to think that given deck, usability is a good thing. And then when it comes to the louder and louder part of the deck overhang, I think part of that is a misunderstanding of how things work. Like we have a business to run. We get we sell our product right now in deck. So whether we sell it in deck or USD or anything else for that matter, we get $3 million, for instance, over an 18-month cycle to make everything we make. So whatever we sell it in, we're going to need to, to liquefy that to pay the bills to make everything. So whether it's deck, whether it's USD, whether it's SPS, whether it's, a brand new token, it doesn't really matter. We're still going to need to so-called recycle, whatever the funds are that are used. And I would also say that the mechanic is a positive. If you look at the last set, the amount that, for instance, you can look in the Dow and see how much the Dow still has left, after it's been so-called recycled, and it's still net deflationary, meaning we bring in more than what we actually, needed. So it's not a terrible dynamic. I just think people don't understand that, like we need to be paid in something because we have to be able to pay bills to make the things that are needed for the game. Like all these things we just talked about with land and cards and, all the different things. I mean, we have people that we need to pay and server costs and blah, 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 stuff like that. You want to add anything, Matt?
Yeah, I guess that, I mean, and also I want the community to think in terms of like the DAO is the one who hires the company to build these sets. So if the community, the SPS token holders, can decide how they want things to be priced, what people should be able to pay in, and we would be happy to offer our thoughts and ideas and opinions, but ultimately it's really up to you guys at the end of the day. So yeah, it's an important mindset shift, I think, to think instead of saying, can you guys saying, can the team do this? It's more like, saying this is what we want. And then that's what we build. And obviously it's handled through the proposal system.
Yep. I agree. All right. Next question is for you, Matt. No plans for the land worker cards that can be minted using land. Not land cards for rank play, but similar. Okay, so he's asking, do we have any plans for new land cards like we just did those last four? And I guess I would answer, and then Matt, you can as well. I would answer that I think it went really well. People were really happy. It was a great proof of concept, and that's certainly something that we can do going forward. We certainly don't want to flood the market with those, but I certainly think there's more capacity to do more. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, so I feel like it's not on our like short-term roadmap right now, but I think as we expand land and have all the buildings and all this stuff, there'll be a lot more opportunity for new land things that can be crafted on land. So I would look at it. We don't want to get too distracted from the main project, and then once that's done, we'll see where we have more opportunities to add new things.
Okay. All right. Next is when Frontier Lucky Coins from Ghostly. Don't know what he means by that.
So he added the lucky long shot coins to ranked play, but not the weekly frontier draws. I don't know that we have any plans to do that, but he's asking if we're going to add some sort of consolation prize for frontier weekly draws.
Not yet, but I'm not opposed to it. It's just we have to be able, like Matt said, we only have so much capacity, so we have to handle the capacity we have. So, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly something we could do. We just got to make a card for it and find out a distribution mechanism.
Yeah, we're getting ready to spice up frontier mode with the spinning wheel and all. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that we can do after that, but we just got to prioritize.
Next is from Bebe Omega. Question: Splinterfest 2. To my knowledge, that is not being planned at this time. Matt, is it on your agenda right now?
I mean, as much as I would love to do it, no.
Yeah, yeah.
If
We're not
David, it was
ready.
on my agenda, you would know about it.
Yeah, exactly. We're not there. Hopefully, we get there at some point. We have to keep building the tools and keep, building the business and, focusing on the things we do every day. That would be cool to do. We're just, not ready. Maffet question: any plans on bringing deck back to peg soon? That's sort of talked about that a little earlier. Deck will go back to peg when we create things that people want to buy that are priced in deck. So if there is not going to be an artificial thing that, like we're gonna, magically make it go up because we have a story or something like that. I mean, it's just that represents it's a stable token. We honor it for packs. That's how it's been since the very beginning. So we price, so for instance, using the Conclave Arcana standard packs, it's $4. They were $4 packs, but we agree to let people buy those packs with deck. So if deck is trading at a discount, then that's a way for people to get a discount on the packs. So whether people want to do that or not is really like dependent on whether we have enough players, whether we have enough things that people want to buy. But it doesn't change the fact that we still want to sell those packs for $4. And, and anybody who can, like if deck is 60% a peg, then that's like getting the packs for $2.40. So, if like it's just a market mechanism. So in a soft market, it's going to be low. And then, when there's a lot of demand, then it's going to go back up to peg. So no, there's no plans to bring it back up to peg other than continually focusing on what can we create that make people want to buy and spend their deck. Next question. Marcus, Mega Marcus. With more landcrafted items and then in parentheses and spells in the future, how do you expect the cost for playing, especially at the top of modern, will increase? Since there are less than 200 players that bought more than 100 escalation packs, how high do you expect the demand for land resources additional to the main sets? I would say that the question is, I believe, you're saying that we have roughly 200 players that can buy that did want to purchase escalation packs. Therefore, is that all the players that we have that are going to want to buy all this stuff? I mean, it's possible that that's what it is. It's also possible that people didn't want to buy the packs for other reasons, like maybe they're focused on land, or maybe they don't think they need them. There's other issues that equate, but certainly we need players. We need people that want to spend money on the game and buy the stuff to play the game, and it's not going to change. Question from you lose again. Will Sparks be locked to the accounts, non-transferable? Yes. They will be very similar to Glent, but in a Spark shop that is in the Frontier mode, not, and so yes, and most of the items that they'll be able to buy will be soulbound, and things you can only buy if you're a Frontier, player. Question, Intrepid Surfer, Matt, any insight or teasers on what the secret of Praetoria? I'll let you go, and then there's one for me.
I don't want to reveal anything related to that. You guys are pretty smart, and if I tease some things, then people will figure things out. And then I also that stuff is also we have ideas, and we've had other ideas in the beginning. So there's like a bunch of options, and those options sort of change over time as things change. So even what we currently have in mind may not necessarily be what it ultimately ends up being also. So that's another reason, not to really talk about that for the time being.
All right. And then the question for me, Dave, how will the new land cards for the arena play work? Just land resources, or is it deck needed to craft them? They will. The first two are going to be common cards. You will need sender and a specific land resource for each one. So one will be stone and sender, and the other will be iron and sender. So you can kind of tell which one's which by looking at the cards. We will have a post about it when it's a little close as to exactly how much, but they will be common cards. So it will take 400 to level up. And then we will have a different way of distributing the foil types. So, we're pretty excited about how that will be. But the answer is you will need sender for half, essentially roughly half, and you will need a land resource, for each one. Next. Holy moly, are we finished? No more questions? I think we are. Yep, I can hear you. All right, so make sure you get some questions in. Just because I'm the one answering the questions, you can keep asking.
Yeah, but if not, we can also. I wouldn't mind ending early, and everyone can get back to what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I feel like this is there's certain times when we like announce a bunch of whole new stuff, and that's we have the longer town halls and we really get into things. There's a lot more questions about it, but at this point, I think we've been pretty clear with our roadmap for the next little while, and we're kind of in building mode. So there's probably not much like new that you haven't heard before on this town hall. There may not be for a little while, but then hopefully we release the things. That's exciting. We talk about them, and then once we start to announce kind of the next big initiatives, it goes in those kind of cycles. But it's not unusual to have kind of the shorter town halls in between.
Agreed. All right. Clay wasn't a question, but Nate, he wants a Praetorius secret swimsuit edition. So make sure you talk to Clay and see what's in the mind of his genius.
Of course he does. Let's ask his wife about that.
All right, next is Deuce Crypto question. When in survival a timeline, will SPL team decide to rework the payouts? Number one, it's 6 seasons that has been authorized to be funded. I believe that there's going to be one change that's going to be made, and it's the issue with the collection power, how that will count. Right now, the way it's set up is collection power counts of your card, whether you're in tier 1, bronze league or novice league or champion league. So we're going to make an adjustment there to cap it at the league cap that you're in. What that will do is make it, it will skew the payouts, more towards the top. But it is an exploit technically. So we're going to fix that. Having said that, the fixes to the, like the smaller leagues, how much they get relative to the bigger leagues, or whether the manual play versus botted play should be different, that will have to be a community proposal. So in the timeline, in terms of us deciding, it's really not us deciding. That's more of a community decision. So if you guys want to get together and say, hey, like I've already had a lot of feedback from people, like they're saying, for instance, we need the human only mode to be paid more than what it's being paid. Like, fine, make a proposal, whatever the multiple is. Like, everybody can now see where the brackets are and what the payouts are, and anybody can make a proposal. I suggest that people work together and try to like form consensus. I'm happy to participate in those kind of discussions. So if you have a group of people that you know are like-minded and you want to talk about it, feel free to reach out to me and I'll work with you. But the way that it's written now and the way it's the plan is that we put it out. We did, you know, what the community asked for. It's going to be funded for 6 rounds, which is roughly 3 months. We will make adjustments to, for instance, interpretive issues. For instance, like I mentioned, the way we count collection power. But other than that, if there's a big change in, you know, which bracket gets more than the other or things like that, then that's really going to be on the community. Next, Zeke, question. How are you all feeling? Good, bad, stressed? One word from each team member. So let's start at the top, Gate, or at least top on my screen. Gator, you go first.
I'm tired.
All right, Matt.
Sorry, I was muted. What? Only one word?
Yep.
Psyched.
All right, Blaze.
Stoked.
Nate.
I'm hungry. Hungry. I'm kind of hungry right now.
Is that hungry for more packs or hungry?
Yeah, hungry for
food?
more. Actually, that's true. Matt did FOMO me earlier with the conclave stuff. So that's only going to get worse once the widget's in, I suppose.
Yeah, that's my one word, FOMO. I'm FOMOing. I really want to get some of those arcanes sitting in those conclave arcana packs. Next question. Excuse me, from Dahoda. Matt, what is Matt, the player, most excited about the remainder of 2026? So I think the question is, Matt, what should players be most excited about for the rest of the year?
I mean, the whole rest of the year. That's well, so it was the thing I'm most excited about is land buildings. So there's you know, I don't like to pick favorites. But obviously I'm a very large landholder. Um I've had the concept in my mind for this for many, many years now. You know, we've gotten little pieces of it, but my hope is that the land buildings is really where the whole vision starts to come into place. And I'm also in a position where like I have a lot of unused common plots, and I'm really ready to get those going. I have tons of Chaos Legion cards, kind of waiting for an opportunity to go there. So even though like we have a lot of really cool things, it's like Matt, yes, it was the question was to me specifically as a player. That's the one I'm most excited for.
All right. Next is from Deuce Crypto. Do you feel survival mode is a success if 75% of all the CP is being played in wild automated max bracket 11? Deuce, I'll answer that one. I believe that doing it the way we're doing it, we're going to get valuable information. And by looking at that information, people can decide whether it's worth doing or not. I've made that point, exactly what you're asking. Like, it's a question everybody should ask themselves. And in terms of my feeling of what is success, my feeling of success is, can we see, you know, exactly the information we need to make a good decision? And I think that will mean that we have success from our end, meaning what did the team do? Whether the mode itself is successful, I think is going to depend on the community and what they feel makes sense. Like, there is a lot of people that are going to say, look, if this is all bots and this is all going to the top, then, you know, I'm not interested, right? And then there'll be other people that will argue that they are. So, you know, without the data, you really couldn't make a good decision, and we couldn't have a real discussion other than just, you know, making up things. But I think now we're going to be in a position where we'll be able to see. So, like, I think I know your opinion on that. And I think there will be a lot of people that share your opinion, and then there's going to be people on the other side. And that's the beauty of the DAO. The DAO is the one that gets to make that decision. And I would also say that also applies, like I noticed Bugtus up ahead said something about the collection power, or excuse me, the production power going lower. You know, the one thing that Matt told everybody is what the plan has been and what it's been all along on the production power. But if the community wants to change that, then that's perfectly fine. Like, you know, we're here. It is a community driven project. The SPS, you know, holders get it. If things aren't the way you want, then that's what the DAO's purpose is. So, all right. Thank you for that comment, Bolts. Best damn team ever. Splinterlands Army for life. That's cool. Let's see. Do we have anything else? Question. Almost done. So if you got a question, got to get it in. From Luna, question, is Rooney going to help on doubling building production? I would answer that by saying I believe that Rooney's certainly planned to do everything it does on the, you know, on the work sites. So as far as like natural resources and things like that, I'm not aware of anything on buildings. I certainly wouldn't think it would double the production. But Matt, anything you want to say on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the Rooney will still act the same as they act on other plots. You know, it'll be the same for buildings as it is for work sites. So, so yeah, like and totems will also give bonuses. It's just things. The like legendary land, for example, is land that's basically very rich in the resource that it has, right? So if you build a factory on it, that doesn't take advantage of the fact that the land, you know, is very good for farming and can produce a lot of grain, right? So that, like, whether you build on a legendary plot or a common plot will only matter for work sites that get the stuff from the land, not for buildings. But other things that are not related to that, like Rooney and Totem, just increase the production of the workers, and that should apply equally to buildings and work sites.
Cool. All right, Matt, I think we're done. I made it through the Q&A. I don't think I messed up too much.
Well done, Dave. Appreciate your help as always.
All right, thank you.
I guess the next one should be in about a month. Let me check the calendar here. It's looking like Thursday, March 19th. It'll be an evening one for those of you located in the Eastern US. It should be 7 p.m. Eastern. It'll be Eastern Daylight Time then. So, you know, the US and some other places in the world are very annoying, even for us who live here, where we change our clocks an hour twice a year. So it should be 7 p.m. Eastern time, and I think it would be 11 p.m. UTC or GMT time. But you guys, you know how to check the schedule and see that. So yeah, so we'll be back in a month, and we'll hopefully have some. You know, the Conclave Arcana will be gone by then, so hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about all the crazy pulls and what's been going on with that. We'll give you more updates on the progress with boss monsters and land and all those things. And until then, feel free to post your questions in the town hall chat, and we'll talk to you guys again in a month.
Thank you, everybody.